Back on Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning, Steve Kashul and Dr. Greg Nicholson filling in this week for Dr. Brian Cole. Our producer is Shane Reardon. Coordinating producer is Teresa Ann Seeger. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com. Time to talk a little nutrition. We're going to bring on one of our favorite guests here who has set my life straight, Dr. Greg. Really changed my lifestyle of eating and nutrition and different things. I always ask Dr. Cole. He is a healthy eater. I feel guilty sometimes. We're in the Bulls media room, and I have a big plate of food, and usually healthy. All right, I got my salad, but it's Dr. Cole's portion and my portions are a lot different. I always feel so guilty, like I haven't eaten all day. But I know you're supposed to eat like a peasant during dinner, right?
I think the information out there is there. We have to glean it. We have to take it in. I do think portion control and portion size is one of the things we don't talk about a lot. And in America, it's just they just dump it on you. And, that whole thing when you were a kid, clean your plate.
Yes.
It might be the worst thing we told kids.
Right. Have a palm's worth of meat or chicken or whatever, and not 2 pounds, right? And I mean a palm's worth, not a pound's worth. Well, let's bring on our next guest. She is terrific. Karen Malkin Health Counseling. She is a board-certified integrative health coach. She is in Chicago, Glencoe, Tucson, Arizona, talking about setting you straight on healthy food lies. We have food lies out there. Karen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
So tell us some of the misconceptions. What are you hearing about? By the way, congratulations on your board certification for integrative health coach. There is a difference, right?
Yes, there is. There's a national board certification that came out about a year ago, and there's about 1,100 of us that are board certified in integrative health coaching.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, that's
Thank you.
really cool. So how do people get so misled by the food industry?
Well, there's so much information out there that people are having trouble deciphering what should I eat. And I think it's misleading, because we're all unique in our own way, right? We all have different physiology. We have different genetics and our ancestry, our cravings, our body type. So there's no one diet out there for everyone. So I really encourage my clients to experiment with different foods around their natural biocircadian rhythm, maybe meal timing, and potentially exercising with breakfast. So you kind of use your own body wisdom. But there's a lot of truth there and false marketing with regards to these food products, and especially food labels. How can a box of Fruit Loops be labeled whole grain?
Right.
Well, Karen, the one thing we're seeing more and more now is that label of organic. That organic eggs or organic milk, and I always say, well, wait a minute, where else did it come from? Is there a designation where you're allowed to put organic on it, and does it make a difference?
It does make a difference, and certified organic is a USDA certification, and so if it's organic, it does make a difference because there's certain criteria that it must meet, and especially with regards to like pesticides and GMOs. So organic dairy and organic meat, when you have cows that are fed pesticide, antibiotics, and grains with pesticides, you're going to have a different genetic chemical makeup in that meat. And so when you have cows that are grass-fed, they're eating greens, which have a lot of lutein in there, which are super anti-inflammatory, great for your brain. And the cows are eating greens and the cows are roaming free. They're getting exercise. They're a lot healthier than a cow that's in a factory that's indoors. And you're also going to be enjoying meat from a cow that's been in the sun, and so that cow also gets vitamin D. So it's a whole different chemical makeup in the meat structure of, organic grass-fed versus a cow that's factory farmed. And the same thing with dairy. They pump up the chickens with antibiotics and different hormones, and you won't get that with it's if it's pasture-raised chicken, they are raised in the pasture. So you really do have to pay attention to the labels and understand what each of those labels, the definition, actually means.
Karen, how about just going to a restaurant? Then we're looking for grass-fed, correct? Is that easily labeled by most of these restaurants?
Oh,
most
yeah.
of them don't have them, though, right?
Yeah, on the menu, if it's beef, it will say it's certainly they'll let you know if it's grass-fed because it'll be more expensive.
Yeah, right.
And I don't see a lot of grass-fed out there in restaurants yet in Chicago, but I do see a lot of free-range chicken.
Visiting with Karen Malkin, our health counselor, board-certified integrative health coach Steve Kashul, and Dr. Greg Nicholson filling in this week for Dr. Brian Cole. Karen is marvelous at what she does. KarenMalkin.com is her website. And there's so many misconceptions out there, right, that lead to unhealthy understanding of what we eat. Karen, you touched on some of them. I mean, it's as simple, Dr. Nicholson, Dr. Cole, and Karen and I were talking about this in a show not long ago about just simply saying purified water in a plastic bottle. Karen has really made me think about drinking water out of these plastic bottles because, as Karen says, who knows where those 24, 28 bottles in a case were stored, right?
In the sun, or in a hot semi-tractor trailer for a week or two, and that plastic does have some microchemicals that can get into the water.
Yeah, Karen can echo that, right?
Yep, those would be the BPAs. And so I recommend getting a filter in your home and using filtered tap water in a glass jar or a metal jar and just refilling your own filtered tap water.
So Karen, I mean, I'm gonna be healthy today at lunch, and I'm gonna order a Chinese chicken chopped salad with the peanut dressing on the side, and there's veggies all over it. I should feel pretty good about myself, right? I didn't get a burger and fries.
So
I got a salad. I mean, come on, I got a salad.
That's what we all think, right?
Yeah, and so I would look at the vegetables and look at the salad and how dark are those lettuce? Is the lettuce? Is it spinach, arugula, kale, or is it iceberg lettuce? And then how much maybe shredded carrots or broccoli or green beans, how much quantity of the vegetable is actually in that salad? So is it mostly iceberg lettuce and maybe 5 tablespoons of vegetables? And you really want to get 5 to 9 servings of vegetables each day. And so that's like 4.5 cups. So how many cups of veggies are actually in that salad?
That's a lot. It really is, isn't it?
That's when you said that, that's a lot of veggies, and I would imagine 95% of Americans don't do that.
No, you are absolutely right. 90% of Americans do not do it. And when you first started talking this morning, you mentioned portion control, and the reason why portion control appears to be the problem, but it's really not the problem, is because if you look at your plate and 50% of it are colorful vegetables, you can only consume so much, and you can consume quantity, but there's no calories, and there's so many micronutrients, and those are your anti-inflammatory foods. That's what's going to boost athletic performance. That's what's going to help with age-related diseases and cancers and dementia, and that's what's going to allow you to live a long and healthy life are those colors, all those phytochemicals.
You brought up iceberg lettuce. Is that just basically water then and not a lot of nutrients?
It's mostly water, not a lot of nutrients. But those deep colors, the deep dark leafy greens, the arugulas, the kales, basil, romaine has some calcium in there. But you really want the deep colors. And so red peppers, green foods, yellow foods, orange foods, purple foods. I encourage my students to eat the rainbow of vegetables, starting with dark leafy greens at the top of the food chain. So, that Chinese chicken salad that you had today, how many vegetables were actually really in there?
Visiting with Karen Malkin, our board-certified integrative health coach. KarenMalkin.com is the website, and Karen does such a marvelous job here on Sports Medicine Weekly. Karen, something came up a couple of weeks ago, maybe just a week ago. I'm reading, maybe it was a study from China or Japan, somewhere overseas, saying that healthy people are waking up in the morning having 4 glasses of water 45 minutes before they put food in their body. Do you subscribe to that?
I like that. I don't know about 4 glasses, but I definitely recommend people start their day with a glass of water because while you're
filtered
sleeping,
water.
Start with a glass of water because while you're sleeping, your body, you wake up dehydrated, right? So the best thing you could do is replenish your body with some water to hydrate your cells. Because you're sleeping overnight, you're not drinking, you're breathing, which is going to dehydrate your body. And so I love that idea of starting the day with water. 4 cups is a little much. I think that might not be sustainable, and you could feel really bloated. But I love that idea of having a glass or 2 first thing in the morning. And I actually do that myself.
Do you? And then tell me about your typical breakfast.
I will start my day with my superfood smoothie. That includes a vegan rice protein blend. I actually created this brand. It's called MCT Lean. I think you've had it.
I have.
And
it's
then
terrific.
I'll throw in, so I've got my liquid. I'll put my liquid would be water. I do some protein, and I'll have some kale and some spinach and carrots and celery. I'll throw it in there, half of a beet, some frozen blueberries, MCT oil or an avocado. And that's typically my breakfast. Once in a while, I'll have one of my transformation bars if I'm on the run. But I also really like eggs for breakfast. So I believe in protein, high quality fats, and greens. So I'll do like a fried egg over a bed of spinach with a side of avocado and tomato slice.
You're
and
healthy.
If you want, you can throw in a piece of whole grain toast. But I don't really typically consume bread.
Right. I played golf the other day with a client who had a shake similar to yours, the protein shake, but did not know anything about the MCT lean oil. And I said, you got to try the MCT lean oil. I gave her your website, KarenMalkin.com, where you can purchase that. But I couldn't describe it. Can you describe it for our listeners what it does?
Well, MCTs are medium-chain triglycerides, and so they're a shorter-chain fat than your typical long-chain vegetable fats. And so they're just metabolized differently in your body. The shorter-chain fats can cross the blood-brain barrier. There's research around, coconut oil and MCT oil for brain health. Because it can cross the blood-brain barrier. Also for athletic performance, I found that a lot of my athletes their endurance is longer with their workouts when they can add in some MCT oil. And the same thing with weight loss. The shorter chain fats metabolize differently than the long chain, so they don't get stored as fat. So the MCTs are kind of like a fuel source for athletes.
And what
or
age?
For anybody that likes to be active and have energy.
Can you give that to a 10-year-old?
I do a teaspoon, and it's also a saturated fat, so it should be part of your dietary saturated fat budget. Your monounsaturated fats are the healthiest fats. That's your olive oil. That's your avocados. There's also an algae oil out there made by Thrive, THRIVE. You can get it on Amazon, Whole Foods. It's algae oil, and it's really high in heart-healthy monounsaturated fats. So I'm, primarily olive oil, avocados, monounsaturated fats, but I do consume a little bit of MCTs and coconut oil.
And you can put
part of my saturated fat budget.
And
What's
Karen,
that?
you can put the MCT oil in your shake in the morning, or you can put it on your salad, right? Even a teaspoon, start with a teaspoon, then go with a tablespoon.
So I mix it with my salad dressings, mostly olive oil, a little bit of MCT oil. I'll put it in my smoothie. Some people put it in their coffee. They do MCT oil and coffee and put it in the blender with some butter. That's like that really high-fat coffee. And so MCTs are also in geriatric formulas and baby formulas because they're so easy to digest and so quick to digest. So MCTs have been around for a long time. Karen
Malkin is our guest right here. A couple quick other comments from Karen. Karen, what are you seeing out there? What have you learned as a board-certified integrative health coach? What are some of the trends that we should be thinking about as takeaways?
I've studied so many different dietary theories, and it really all comes down to an anti-inflammatory diet consisting of whole foods, mostly plants, lots of leafy greens, colorful veggies, some fruit, legumes, and healthy whole grains for certain people. Not everybody metabolizes carbohydrates the same way. So, you have to sort of know your body type and see how many grains would be healthy for you in a day. But that seems to be really the food plan that withstands the test of all.
And I tell Karen, Dr. Nicholson, that I still love my sweet tea and I love a pizza once a week. She says, it's okay. Don't overindulge in it. Right, Karen? I mean,
oh, me too.
If you feel good with something,
every day.
do you? Dark chocolate is good.
Oh, yeah.
Moderation, right? I mean, you got to reward yourself for your good behavior. It's just,
you do.
It's about moderation and
creating
consistency.
a healthy relationship with food is important. And when you're calorie restricting, it's just going to cause guilt and stress around food. So that's why I tell people just eat the colors. Don't count calories. Don't worry about it. Eat slowly and mindfully, because you talk about portion control. If you're a fast eater, you can down one cheeseburger in 20 minutes, or you can down 3 cheeseburgers in 20 minutes. But if you allow your body those 20 minutes and eat mindfully and slowly, you'll eat less.
And finally, what about what's too late to eat at night? What time?
I prefer to eat earlier than later, because the later you eat, you want to allow your body a couple hours to digest your food before you go to sleep. So eating right before bed is actually a really great way to gain weight. But, eating after 7 o'clock doesn't necessarily mean you will definitely gain weight. If you're not eating all day long and you're waiting until 5, 6, 7 o'clock to start consuming all of your calories, likely people are going to overeat between the hours of 5 and 10, and they're going to go to bed full and they're going to wake up heavier. So eating dinner earlier would be healthier, but it's not necessarily something we need to do every day. But you really want to consume a rhythm of meals: breakfast, lunch, dinner, minimize snacking, burn your own body fat between meals, and really love your food.
Well, what I'm hearing is have your plan. You can deviate from that. You don't need to be so restrictive with yourself, but it's consistency over time, right?
It is. I mean, I eat so many vegetables and so many healthy, anti-inflammatory foods that it's not a big deal for me if I have some cheesecake, or if I go out to dinner and I have bread and dip it in the olive oil, or have dessert, because it's all about vitamin Q. And if you can think about the quality of foods that you've eaten all day, don't worry about what you're going to eat tonight.
Karen, finally, what's on your website? What should we be looking for if people visit the website Karen Malkin, MALKIN.com?
Well, I have a new 14-day transformation program. It's called Toxin Takedown, and environmental health is an area in which I'm very passionate about. The diet is the same as my other 2 14-day transformations, which you and Dr. Cole have both experienced.
Yes.
But this one is one tip you can I give you one tip each day that you can do to help reduce your toxic body burden. For instance, day 1 would be to swap out plastics for glass, and I tell you why, and I tell you what those chemicals are in plastics and how they impact your body. And it's $49, and I'm donating 100% of the profits to the Environmental Working Group. So it's really a labor of love. It's charity to the Environmental Working Group, and it also is, in my opinion, beneficial for anybody who wants to help reduce some of their toxic body burn, especially young women who want to get pregnant. That's
what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Good stuff. Again, a health counselor, psychology of eating coach. She's a board-certified integrative health coach, and one of our key contributors here on Sports Medicine Weekly, Karen Malkin. Karen, thanks so much for your time and lending your expertise to our listeners this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. KarenMalkin.com, the website. When we return, it's our staple of the show, Ask the Doctor segment. You're listening to Sports Medicine Weekly with Steve Kashul and Dr. Greg Nicholson this week, only on 670 The Score.